Hello and welcome to the Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Samuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. So, Peter, yesterday was the 2-year anniversary of the Hamas attack on Israel, and obviously, a lot of lot of talk, commemoration of the event, as if every day has not been a commemoration of October the 7th for, 730 days. We've had, every day a talk about October the 7th. So, but yesterday was a special day on talk, just all day talking about October the 7th. So, in terms of what really happened, I mean, you'd have to say this was a disastrous decision on the part of Hamas, because they knew then that how Israel would respond. And if you're a leader of a people, you do have a responsibility to the people that you lead, and to bring so much misery and ruin on them. Leaving aside everything we know about Israel, how it,
Well,
what
I'm
it
glad you're
does.
giving that. I'm glad you're giving that caveat.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. But that's the point. We know exactly what Israel does. We know exactly how Israel behaved, and we knew on October the 7th how Israel would respond. I mean, there was never any
No doubt.
ambiguity about that. So that was, with whatever their calculation was, and I don't think we know exactly what they were calculating, but basically, other than a kind of half-hearted participation on the part of Hezbollah, and to a certain extent, a kind of a half-hearted participation of the Houthis, no one else in the Arab world joined in after October the 7th, and essentially what Hamas left Gaza to the mercy of Israel. Now, having said that, this has gone on for 2 years, unmitigated horror inflicted by Israel, and Israel still is very far from achieving its goals. It certainly killed a lot of people, destroyed a great deal, but it's as far as ever from achieving its goals. So I think that's the first thing we can talk about,
Well,
and then
also,
we can talk about where we are now. Where do we go from here?
yeah, but October 7th put Gaza and its people, its plight back on the agenda, and we've been talking about it for 2 years. Okay. I'm not going to condone, justify, or even condemn what Hamas did. Okay, because I don't know, and I agree with you. I mean, what was their plan? Okay, we're going to have to sacrifice half our population, face expulsion to keep us relevant in the geopolitical sway of things. That's a that's a really heavy, heavy decision to make for anyone, any group of people, for the people that they claim to represent. So, yes, they're very much on the agenda right now. But the cost is just, I don't think even you and I can even imagine. Okay. I mean, even seeing these horrific images all day long, it's nothing like what it probably is to experience it, obviously. So, yeah, and that's where we are. And I agree with you. Um, what has Israel achieved? Well, what is its goal? The goal, and this is where you and I differ, it is the complete displacement or destruction of the people of Gaza. We've argued about it over and over again, but it's still going on, okay? And it continues to go on. And as far as I can tell, there's no end in sight. And what is really pathetic, and it's another issue I want to talk about with you in this podcast, is the reaction of the West, not necessarily of the world.
Right, right. That's right. I don't think we exactly differ on the issue of what Israel's goals are. I think where we
Well,
differ,
it's not to win a war.
yeah, I don't think we, yeah, I no,
It's
I
not to
think
win a war.
right. I think, yeah, I think we agree on that. I think where we differ is on the feasibility of this plan. I think that that's where I don't think it can be done. Whatever the is, these some of these crazies who lead Israel want to do. I don't think that it can be done. And so it's just that it's just they continue with this with these atrocities, but that goal of sort of mass expulsion, I think that boat has sailed. I mean, I kind of agree with
George,
what
I lost
Ben.
your audio. I lost your audio for a second. It's okay now. It's
Oh,
okay
okay,
now.
okay, okay.
Don't touch anything.
Right.
Don't touch anything.
Yes. I think that I kind of agree with what Benny Morris has written. I think Israel missed the boat in 1948. If they wanted to, essentially rid the land of Palestine of the indigenous people, I think that was the moment to do it. Once they failed to do that, then I think it became very difficult for them. And I know they've indeed been thinking about this all this time about how to accomplish this, but I think it's just going to be it's almost impossible to do. And I think that's when we come now to this moment of the of this Trump peace plan. And I think we also differ on that, whether it has any legs in it or not. And I'm not going to go out on a limb and say, yeah, this is going to succeed. I think there is some hope. I think there's some grounds for hope. That's all I would say. I think there are some grounds for hope. I think Trump is now seems to be committed to this plan. He's got his name attached to it. He's published it. There it is, the 20 points. He will be nominally in charge of Gaza. He will be the chairman of the board over Gaza. Everybody,
And
you know,
he's gonna underwrite Israel's behavior. Oh my
well,
God.
but I think that's the well,
What a
exactly.
foolish thing to do.
But that's the
What a
interesting thing.
foolish
I mean,
thing to
is
do.
that will he do that? Let's keep in mind, Trump has no commitment to Greater Israel. He cares nothing about Greater Israel. That's not his thing. Greater Israel. I think he does have a commitment to his legacy. He wants to be known as somebody who brought peace to the Middle East. He also, I think, cares about his friends in the Gulf, and all the Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia. He cares about all of that. Because he has a lot of investments tied up. His son-in-law has investments tied up, so he cares a lot about them. Um, and he cares about the Abraham Accords, which is really his single
So,
foreign policy accomplishment during the 5 years
I
he's
would
been in
say
office.
accomplishment,
All
yes.
right, accomplishment,
But
okay.
that's his signature thing. Yeah, I agree.
Right. So he wants to preserve that, and so I think that's why I say, if you're going to look things about this plan, I don't think it's going to head. We're heading towards a Palestinian statehood. I think that's off
No,
the table,
no,
and then we don't have to. We don't
no.
even have to argue about that. The
No,
two-state
that
solution. Yeah, that's not going to
as
happen.
my Russian friends love this phrase, this English phrase. That's yesterday's snow,
Yeah,
George. We
exactly. But if, and it is a big if we actually get somewhere, if this plan begins to be implemented, then for the people of Gaza, that's an infinite
yeah, yeah. You see,
improvement on
George
what they have now.
George brings up a really good point, and this is the dilemma, and it's a dilemma in every single dimension: moral dilemma, political dilemma. This is the dilemma because if I'm asked, is it Peter? What do you think of the peace plan? I think it's poppycock. I think it's a ruse. What if, under certain circumstances, for a certain time period, it would alleviate the people of Gaza? Then I'm on board. Of course, do no harm.
Right.
Do no harm. That should be your first principle. Okay, and just to kind of just um, uh, dissect a couple of your ideas there is the way I look at it, and we're in complete agreement on this. Trump's looking for a win. He
Yep.
wants a win, a
Yep.
tangible win. Okay. And what is that one? It's only one thing. One thing. Israel security, that's amorphous. Okay. American prestige, that's not the point that he's discussing right now. Maybe his personal legacy. I agree with you there. The hostages. That's the tangible thing. If Trump can get his name on that, and then the genocidal war continues, will say, "I got the hostages out." That's the tangible thing for him, and he can sell that to his base, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah,
I,
but
I think he's very mercurial on that. It's very specific, and it's something that his administration, the Biden administration, get the hostage home, and we see that in the Oval Office every single time Netanyahu has been there. For him, that's something that's tangible, and I agree with you. He doesn't give. I don't think he gives a hoot about any of this. Okay, he's a domestic president. He is interested in an agenda that will leave his mark and get him on Mount Rushmore.
right, right.
And
Um,
and foreign policy isn't going to get you on Mount Rushmore, George.
no, it definitely isn't. The thing is that yes, of course, the hostage, he always keeps talking about the hostages. But the point is that he has now put forward this 20-point plan and he published it. It's there, it's published it. Everybody in the world, including the UN Secretary General, all the political leaders, Erdogan, everyone around talks about the Trump plan. It's now become part of the contemporary discourse, the Trump plan. And the Trump plan is quite detailed. I mean, we have
Okay, we disagree on that one too.
right.
It's
No, that's
very,
right.
very vague.
Can't
It's
Yeah,
very
but
vague.
you can't walk away from that. He can't walk. If it was just simply some vague talk, in the way that the ceasefire in January, yeah, that was kind of vague talk, nothing really down on paper. Here is down on paper. It's now become, enshrined in
Okay, all right.
world discourse, the
George.
Trump 20-point plan.
Hamas has to disarm. How do you verify that?
Well, that's going to be
How's it verified?
that's going to.
Israel
However,
must withdraw. Well, what
right,
does it
that's right.
mean?
But the you see, I think that Hamas is now really under the control of everybody else. I mean, I think that Egypt, Turkey, Qatar, they're all going to make sure
Yeah, what have they
that
done
Hamas
for what have they done for Gaza, George? I don't buy
well, they
that.
haven't.
What have they done?
No, I think they want this. I absolutely think that they do want this thing to come to an end. They absolutely want to make sure that
None of these countries
Israel
broke
cannot continue
diplomatic
this war.
relations with Israel. None of them broke
No,
diplomatic.
but that's true. They haven't done that, but now they have this opportunity to, try to save the people of Gaza. Now, before there was nothing much that they could do, but now they have, an
I
opportunity to
think
save. So therefore, they are really running. Hamas is now being run by everybody else, and they're telling him, don't don't do anything to give Netanyahu an excuse to resume
you
a
don't
war.
have to give them an excuse. Okay, George,
Right.
this is good for debating purposes. Okay,
Right.
I'm going to be a little bit more categorical. The
All
Trump
right.
plan, the Trump plan is a dead letter. Now let
It's
me
not a
finish.
dead letter.
Let
I
me
mean,
finish. Let me finish. I think it's a dead letter because it's moving to something else. And it is the predicate for something else. I don't know what that is right now. But you know what the Trump plan did? It got negotiations going again, which is not
right.
a bad thing. Okay. That's
If
why I think it's a segue. I think if anything, and I'm a pessimist on this one, you know that, but if anything comes in, it'll be because the predicate was the Trump plan, which is going to be, it's going to change radically, dramatically. But we're in a moment right now. Look, George, it's Wednesday right now. The bomb should have stopped on Saturday, right?
right, no, that hasn't stopped. But nonetheless, they are negotiating. He's got his son-in-laws
Okay,
there,
now we're in
his wife
agreement.
is
Now
there.
we're
They're
in agreement.
negotiating, and I
But
think that
I'm not
there
going
will
to.
be a release. I think there will be a release of hostages. You can't. There's just no way that you can get around that. The thing is that if that's all it is, if there's nothing else, just the release of the hostages and release of a few Palestinians, and then the war resumes. That is a total failure for Trump. That's complete, utter bankruptcy of Trump. And I think that's a humiliation for him. And I don't think Trump wants to go there for a very obvious reason. I think he realizes exactly that, hey, I'm the president of the United States. Bibi is the prime minister of a country of 9 million. I can't be told what to do by the leader of a
Yeah,
country
but you know
of
what it
9
sounds like?
million.
You know what it sounds like? It overshadows, in my opinion, the ongoing negotiations in Cairo. The real negotiations are, is Trump going to exert his formidable power?
Right.
And he has not done so to date. The inauguration ceasefire.
That that that
That
yeah,
was going to be short term.
that
That
was
was
very
just,
that didn't
and
work.
he didn't fight for his own
He
ceasefire.
did
He
not.
didn't fight.
He didn't. But now, he has already publicly humiliated Bibi. He publicly humiliated him over what happened in Qatar. Remember when after the attack on Qatar, Netanyahu said, "Yeah, we did it, and we'll do it again." And then there he was. He came to the White House. Trump gave him a telephone. He said, "You call up the Prime Minister of Qatar and apologize." And then he said, "Well, yeah, well, I'm sorry, we killed a Qatari security guard." No, 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 no. That's not enough. Trump made him apologize to say that we violated the sovereignty of Qatar, and we promise we will never do this again. The exact opposite of what Netanyahu had said a week earlier. We'll do it again. Nothing can stop it. Said, no, we will never do it again. And then Trump signs a security. He offers a security guarantee, something he's not done for any other Arab state. This is a kind of an equivalent of a Article 5 of NATO, saying, boom, anyone attacks you, you'll have the United States to deal with. That's ramming it down
Yeah, but
BBC.
that
If
has
he's capable
that's
of doing that, he's capable of
doing
doing something. I'm just
nothing.
saying he's capable. I'm not saying that he will do it, but I'm
Okay.
saying he's capable of doing that.
Okay, that has nothing to do with anything that what's going on in Gaza.
Well, it shows that he has
We'll
the
see,
power to
George. I mean,
humiliate
we're gonna.
Bibi.
I'm in the terrible situation of trying to prove a negative, which you can't. Okay, so we'll see if Israel attacks Qatar again. Okay, okay. All of this could be. He humiliated Netanyahu. Okay, what material cost? Nothing to Netanyahu. Nothing.
He's forced Netanyahu to go along with this deal, and this deal says something. There's something in that 20-point plan, something that Israel has never acceded to in the past. Anybody who leaves Gaza will be able to return. Never, never, never has Israel said anybody who leaves
Yeah, but maybe
West Bank and Gaza will be able to return. Of course, Israel may
the
violate that
cheapest
and break it,
words that have.
but it's there. And Netanyahu said, "Yeah, I accept this." So it's there in black and white. So that he's already made
I
Netanyahu
don't see you have too much faith in these
agree to
things. I
this.
don't. You have too much faith in these things. I don't. Words are something, actions are better.
Well,
Okay.
of course they are, but I'm just saying there are grounds for hope. I'm not saying, oh, this is going to be, it's plain sailing. I just say, I don't think we should dismiss it out of hand. I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
I just think that we should at least, say there are grounds for hope that
okay.
this may work out.
The last time George and I talked about this, we were hoping there would be a corner turned one way or another, and we're not there yet. We're
Well, we're
not
not,
there yet.
but we're not
So,
there.
in the context of this conversation that we're having right now, neither one of us are right, or neither one of us are
Well,
wrong.
exactly. We don't know. That's what I'm saying. The grounds for hope, and if we really do begin with the implementation of the plan, then you have to say, okay, well, your life is improved. I mean, yeah, you're going to be run by the international body, and that is going to be there forever. I mean, these internet once one of these international groups takes over, they never leave. They're there forever. But it's better than what you had before. And that's why if it begins to be implemented, you say, oh, the
Yeah,
people
but I
who are
mean, George.
criticizing the plan, oh, this is
Yeah, but George,
colonialism and so on. Say,
what,
yeah, but it's still better than current what
what?
the situation is
Well,
now.
this is just going to be another occupation. And
Yeah, it will be.
would Palestinians have the right to resist using force that occupation?
Not the occupation. No, no, no. They will have to accept the occupation as
Why? 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 Okay, all right. See, this is exactly what Netanyahu had hoped for Hamas, that Hamas would somehow
But it
be
won't be
tamed,
Israel. But it
like
won't be.
the Abbas and the PLO, and just tame them. We're not solving this problem. See, the problem is, as one of my guests told me yesterday, so the problem with this plan is that the Palestinians have no voice, no
No,
self-determination, and they have no involvement in
no,
decision making. It
no.
hasn't solved any of the problems. Okay,
But
and Tony Blair will be just as hated as Netanyahu.
well, but there is a difference. You see, the point about the Palestinian Authority, that was a bilateral deal between Israel and the PLO, and of course Israel could just do whatever it wanted. This time, there's an international presence, so whoever's going to be running Gaza, it'll be an international body. It won't be Israel. I mean, Israel maintain
Oh,
a presence, but it
George,
will be an international body.
I
That's
think
a
the
different.
Israelis will have a veto on everything, everything. Okay, and you have toadies like Tony Blair will say, "Okay, fine." And he'll be pulling him what, £1 million a month for this gig.
All
Okay,
right,
yeah, whatever
All
BB
right.
wants. Okay, fine. I don't
Trump,
say I'm far
is,
more cynical than you
right.
are.
Trump is chairman of the board. Trump will be the chairman of the board. So
I
therefore,
think that you know what, George, this thing better work for him because it's good. That'll be the greatest
well,
humiliation of
exactly,
his.
and that's why I think once one, and they were very. This is why it was. Trump himself said, "Oh, they pressed this on me. This is all the Arab states pressed me. You've got to be the chairman of the board." They knew exactly that. Hey, once you're chairman of the board, then Bibi's room for maneuver will be limited for the very obvious reason he doesn't share Bibi's agenda. That's greater Israel. He doesn't care about any of that. So once he's chairman of the board and he's now responsible for Gaza, he's going to be saying, "Hey, this is my peace plan. We are running Gaza." Now, you're right. Palestinians don't have any agency. They had no say in any of this, and they're going to have to put up with it. But it's still better than being run by Israel. I mean, if you're run by this, I mean, nominally there'll be this Palestinian technocrats. I don't know who they are, and there'll be an Arab security force and a board.
I don't
But
think
it's
we're
still
even.
it's still better than being run by Israel.
I don't think we're going to get remotely close to any of these things because we have to stop the hostilities. We have to have captives returned. Other than that, the rest of it is purely academic. And we have to go from there. This is Alistair Crook told me about the negotiations and to end the troubles in Northern Ireland. Wow, what a technical process that was. And there was um, um, mutual reinforcing agreements step by step, parties to interpret complaints and all that. I don't see any of this in this plan whatsoever. Essentially, Palestinians will be under occupation again. It'll just be an internationalized one at the behest of Netanyahu. Donald
I don't
Trump
think it's
will.
going to be at the behest of Netanyahu. I
I
just don't.
can't see it being any
That's why
different.
I don't think it'll be at the behest of Netanyahu. I just don't think
Why
once.
would Israel give up now?
How
Why
would
would they
that
give
work?
up now?
Why would they listen to Netanyahu? Netanyahu is prime minister of Israel. The chairman of the board will be the president of the United States. The president of the United States, infinitely more powerful than Netanyahu, and he knows this. And
If he
and
wants
Trump
to
has already made clear,
see,
several times, he knows exactly who's the boss,
okay,
and therefore,
George,
yeah,
it gets
sure.
down to if Trump wants to exert that kind of authority, and we have no evidence
Oh yeah,
other than just a virtue signaling
it's
that
not virtue signaling. I
he's going
mean,
to take this. Oh, George. The Palestinians haven't disarmed. Israel can continue to. I mean, this is so fake.
you
It is
can
so fake. Okay.
Netanyahu can make that argument. Doesn't mean that Trump is going to accept that argument. Yeah, of course he's going to make that argument. Trump isn't going to accept the argument. Remember when
I
he
don't
when he was
know.
asked about the annexation of the West Bank by the journalists, and he kept repeating, "It is not going to happen," and
And
no,
what has
it's going
happened in
to
the
happen.
West Bank over the
Oh,
last
it's not
week?
going to happen. No, it's not. It isn't going to happen.
I'll tell you what's happened in the West Bank over the last week. Now you can't leave these refugee camps. They're basically then been atomized into little spots. They can't even get out and visit another state.
Right.
That's called
Well,
annexation.
that's
That's
no. Well,
annexation.
that's a different terms of it. That's de facto. I
It's the
mean,
same thing.
it's
It's
not the
just
same
like
thing. It's not the same
you
thing.
you and I say there's a genocide going on. You say there isn't a
Yeah.
genocide going on. But I could describe 50 different things, and we would agree that that's
Right.
wrong, and
That's right. Exactly. But
it's
that's what.
not
But that's
humane.
why.
But then I could come to a different determination than you. But you and I would not disagree on the
Right,
facts.
exactly. That's right. But I think that the issue of the annexation, I mean, if you mean like de facto annexation, I kind of, yeah, I agree that that's taking place. The formally incorporating within Israel, that's what, which is what Israel would like. I mean, would like to just simply incorporate it. That I think isn't going to happen. And I think that, with the thing in Gaza, once the international body moves in, I think Israel's room for maneuver will be very limited, and particularly because why would Trump do what Netanyahu tells him to do? I mean, I don't see it.
Well,
He doesn't care. He doesn't care about it.
Tony Blair has an entire career of doing what the Israelis want. Why would he change now?
Well,
And speaking of, since the West Bank was brought up, well, why doesn't the Trump plan, if it really is about a two-state solution, which
which isn't, which it isn't,
of
which
course
isn't.
it's not, okay, but they do talk about, as they have since Oslo, a future self-determination. Okay, it's
Right,
always pushed, it's always been.
right, right,
Well,
right.
I mean, what about dealing with the West Bank and Gaza as a whole, the occupied territories? They won't do that.
Well, right. No, well,
That's
okay.
why
Well,
I would continue to
it's.
say
I
this
agree.
is a
That's not.
ruse.
That's not part of the 20-point plan.
If the George, what would be smart is how to stop the hostilities. That should be what they should be talking
Which
about.
is which is
Because I think, and George, I will differ on this here. I think Trump is going to be made into the biggest fool on the international stage. Okay, because I
mm,
do not see how Israeli behavior is going to change.
it will change.
It's
I mean,
only gotten more aggressive.
well, because once it goes into effect, it will have Trump to deal with, and the fact is, Trump has his own agenda. It is not the Greater Israel agenda. And Netanyahu can say what he wants. He can declare this and that. But if the United States says no, that is not what is going to happen, then it's not going to happen. And it's clear from the way Trump is moving
What
that he's
precedent
not
do we
that
have
he's
here?
not following the Netanyahu agenda.
What
Netanyahu doesn't
precedent do
want
we have?
this 20-point plan.
Do we
But
have a
Trump,
precedent for any of this?
yeah, I mean, as I say, we have the precedent of what he did with Qatar. That was, that's the
Okay,
precedent.
I mean, I'm sorry, talk is cheap, but maybe you're right. Maybe you're
Okay,
right.
it's a security guarantee. The United States has never done that
Yeah,
with
but the United
any
States has
Arab
to.
states.
So, you said Article 5. I'm sure it's not called Article 5, but we'll
No,
call
no,
it.
but it's the equivalent. It's the
We'll
equivalent
talk.
of that.
We'll call it the Article 5 um, 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 plank or whatever. Okay. Even if Qatar invokes it, there's no guarantee the United States is going to honor it.
No, that's probably. But the fact
Right.
is that the United States has never issued any such blanket guarantee to any state. Why did Trump do this? Because Saudi Arabia would love to have something, a deal like this. UAE would love to have
Well,
a deal
that
like
was
this.
part of the
Trump
Abraham
Trump has
Accord.
never issued any, or any U.S. government has never issued any kind of this kind of blank check for anyone except Qatar. Why did they do it with Qatar? Because they were attacked by Israel. And clearly, Trump was very angry about that. And therefore he said,
He's
this is not going to happen. And now I agree with, Article 5 and whether it happens or
Trump
not.
should
But
be
that
angry.
just shows that, when Trump gets pissed off about something, then he gets pissed off. And,
Yeah,
and therefore showed that, Netanyahu, who had said exactly the opposite, he said, no, you are not going to do this again.
Trump should be pissed off with his national security team. He should be pissed off with the Pentagon, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sorry, George. Until we know a whole lot
All
more,
right,
and
all
we
right, all
have
right.
first-hand account, he didn't know about it. Well, how was it that, it was during Iran-Contra. If Reagan knew about it, he was a fool. If he didn't know about it, he was a fool. I think the same logic applies here. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I think in the case of, I mean, well, I mean, Iran Contra is different. I don't think Reagan did know about it. I think they kept it
Well, then
away
shame
from
on
Reagan.
him.
They
Shame on
kept it
him.
away
It's this
from Reagan. I mean, there's
administration.
no question. Now, in this case, I mean, from what we know in the attack on Qatar is that Israel notified the administration when the attack was already taking place. I don't think they gave a heads up at all. I think they
I
They
wonder
let
why.
Trump know.
I wonder why.
I think that's all that, if you just go by all of the media reports, if you go also by the way Trump responded, that basically, yeah, it was already too late to do anything about it. So therefore, there was nothing they could do to stop it. But the response afterwards by Trump would indicate that they were really, really pissed off about this, and everything he's
So
done since then would
you're
indicate
telling me the
telling it that
U.S.
he was basically telling Netanyahu, "You are not going to do this again."
You're telling me that no one, and the American base in Qatar, nobody saw these planes in the sky using radar.
Well,
I
they
mean,
did.
they're just like,
They
oh,
were
well,
they
that's interesting.
notified
There's a whole fleet of planes coming here right now.
look,
What's going on here?
they
I
notified.
wonder.
No, they did notify. They notified Washington about this. They said, yeah, there's the attack. Yeah, absolutely. They notified it. There was no interest. Why would Trump have any interest at all in attacking Qatar? I mean, what's the interest
No,
in?
no, no. The Israelis did it for one reason. They knew they would get away with it,
But
and they did.
they did not get away with it. That's the point.
Well,
They did not get away with
okay,
it.
they didn't achieve their goal, but they
No, no,
bombed.
no.
No bomb.
It's more than that. It's more than that. They have this 20-point plan is a direct result of that attack. Trump was pissed off, and he's now making them accept this plan. They absolutely they achieved the exact opposite of what they wanted, which is this is the 20-point plan, and they're forcing Israel to accept
Okay,
it.
well,
Now, I'm
that's
not saying Israel will accept it. Israel hates it, and Israel wants to get
I
around
don't know,
it.
but you
But this
bring
is
up
a direct result of that attack on Qatar.
this is what Ali Risk told me yesterday, and unfortunately I didn't have the time to interrogate it. But you bring up a very interesting point. This Trump plan may be more focused on the Gulf states than it is ending the conflict. That may be true, and it's very cynical, but it makes a lot more sense to me because the Israelis, you know. They want these. It's not necessary for them, but it is convenient. These Abraham Accords, okay, to get all of the Gulf countries, get Saudi Arabia, and again, the Saudis, for example, said, no, we're not doing it until we have a two-state solution. But if Trump is meddling around with this international thing and Blair, well, okay, our major objection is not so strong anymore. I mean, it's very, very cynical. But you may be right that this is directed more to the Gulf states than ending the conflict in Gaza.
No, I mean, but the only way that he's going to get anywhere with the Gulf states is if he brings this thing to an end. I mean, I think that's the condition for that. If he wants, them indeed to join the Abraham Accords, he's got to bring this thing to an end. And this matters a lot to him. He likes the Gulf states. I mean, he's temperamentally
Yeah, I mean,
to
but
them,
George, it's
and
a
they made
simple.
clear to him, if you want anything from us, you need to bring this thing to an end.
Well, Trump could easily just bring it to an end and stop the arms transfers. Okay, I'm sorry, but it's that simple. Okay, this whole thing is tying everyone up in a pretzel. But it would, if you want to end this conflict, the horrific destruction of people and property, just say knock it off, and not one more shell until we get an agreement. Now that is acting like the president of the United
Right.
States.
Right. Well, I think that's we'll see when the hostages are released, whether Trump then says, "Yeah, okay, that's step one. We now have to move on to step two of this plan. We're not going to go ahead with and just simply accept Israel resuming this war and thereby making my plan and everything else null and void." So I think that's what we will see at that moment whether that's the case. But
Yep, but
I think that it's his plan. He is, right now it's got his name on it. Everyone's talking about it. This is on the agenda. UN Secretary General talks about the Trump plan, the Trump plan. He can't just simply say, "Oh well, there was no
oh,
Trump plan." That's the
I
Trump
wouldn't,
plan.
I wouldn't want to be Donald Trump. Okay, because I think that Not only will the Israelis never be on board for this, they will always have the reasons not to agree. They'll have every reason
Yeah,
to
yeah,
kill
they will
kill the
try.
negotiators.
Right, right. Okay,
And wait,
I don't doubt that they will try. I'm just
and he
questioning.
hasn't. What happened to Mike Waltz? He got fired as national security advisor. Now he's at the UN. There's
Right.
no punishment for being pro-Israel in his administration. Okay?
There's no punishment.
And meanwhile, everyone, it's common knowledge. It's a as much of a consensus as anything else could be, is that the preparation for attacking Iran. There are other things going on here. So, even threatening some halting of some arms shipments. Well, what about Iran? We're getting
Right,
ready for
but this
round
is
two, aren't we?
but you see again, this is where one really does have to differentiate the U.S. position from the Israel position. Because remember, when it came to Iran, Trump had only one position and one position only. Iran must not have nuclear weapons. I mean, that's it. That was he repeated that as a mantra. Iran must not have
Well,
nuclear weapons.
it must not
Israel has
enrich.
a very different
It,
plan. Israel has a regime change plan. Now, that is not Trump's plan. And Trump has given no indication that he has a plan for regime change in Iran. He's never said it. He's given no indication of that. So that's why I'm not buying the theory that we're going to attack Iran. Trump attacked Iran for a very limited reason. Now, I'm not justifying it. Of course, it was an outrageous thing that he did, but that's a different from saying that he shares Israel's agenda on Iran.
well,
I don't think he
no,
does.
but I mean, obviously, bombing Iran was for Israel. He said it as much in public. I did it for the
Right,
Israelis.
but it was still
Okay.
nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons. That's all.
Yeah,
That's
what? But again, maybe this is the case here. I think you would agree that there's going to be another major assault, mega major assault on Iran because they want to
I don't
finish
know.
them.
I don't know if that's the case.
Well, okay. Again, the empirical evidence, the movement of American military hardware, planes, and things like this, it gives an indication that something like that is happening.
Well,
Could be,
there may be, or
could be ruse. But what's interesting here, you may be right. It wasn't against nuclear; it was their enrichment program that could lead
right, yeah,
to.
exactly. I'm
Okay.
not.
Okay.
I don't
But
give any
okay, my point is
credibility to the
here
whole that
is
Iran had nuclear
considering
weapons.
what
Yeah.
happened during those 12 days is that it was the Israelis that said uncle. Okay. Now, is it going to be the American position, which I think is there will be there's an impending attack. So what will be the primary role of the United States? Obviously, it will be to protect Israel.
Right, but the point is
Okay.
that yeah,
And depending on who you, because there are Iran boosters out there, you know that as well as I do. But the Israelis took a beating, and I think it's a taster of what possibly could happen. The only thing, and I don't even know if the United States can protect Israel in this kind of exchange. And it's one of these things you have to escalate, escalate, escalate because the missiles are falling on Israel. What is the United States going to do about it? That's where, you get major escalation. And I wouldn't preclude the ultimate weapon being used in this campaign.
yes. Well, I see. This is somewhat apocalyptic because
Yeah.
Trump had a very specific goal in mind with Iran. He's never once suggested that he had any other agenda like removing the Ayatollahs. He's never said anything like that. That's different from Venezuela. Venezuela, no question, he has made clear, and by his actions also during his first term, he intends regime change in Venezuela. And I absolutely think he wants to do that. But he's never done that in the case of Iran. He's always limited his goals. Now, if he were to get involved in a war in Iran, he would have to make a major reversal in policy. First of all, he would have to say, when we said we destroyed Iran's nuclear capability, actually we were wrong. We didn't really destroy anything. That's one thing. And then you say, yeah, we want to remove the Ayatollahs. Those are big, big changes in policy that Trump would have to make.
We're dealing with Donald Trump.
Well, he may
Okay.
or may not, but I don't think. I mean, anything may happen. But I think that it would signal a major reversal of policy on Trump's part. And I think, in terms of Gaza, I think he really wants a deal on Gaza. I think he's now
I
committed to
think
this
he
peace.
wants
He
the
wants a peace.
hostages. He wants the
I don't think that's if
okay.
you listen to his thing. I mean, let's just
It will play out. It play itself out. It will
right.
play
All right.
itself.
All right. I mean, I think we've kind of. I think we could.
No, no. I mean, unlike a lot of other podcasts, I'm not shining George's shoes every second, and he's not shining my shoes.
No,
Okay.
yeah, I
And
agree.
the value of this is that there's a lot of unknowns out
Right.
there.
There's a lot of unknowns. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what George and I both want is the end of the violence.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we want.
Exactly.
That we could do the blame game, and we can all we end the violence.
Right.
That's first and foremost. Then we can take it from there.
Yeah, no, I think that's the key, and the violence, because that's really the first step, that people can actually get back to some kind of a life, not even normal life, but just a
A
life.
life.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All righty. Obviously, needless to say on my part is that to be continued,
To be
everybody.
continued,
All
definitely.
right, this is the guy with Peter George. We're on local, so please go to thegaggle.locals.com. This is Wednesday. That means we reconvene on Friday, and always pencil in Monday at 10 o'clock Eastern time for the live stream.
For the live stream. And then, you got the position of Buddy, because Buddy, he's a real hardliner. He's somebody who bangs his fist on the table, and you know,
What's the
Apple,
difference between a terrorist and Buddy? You can
exactly.
talk to terrorists.
Exactly. Apple is more of a pragmatist, but Buddy is a hardliner. And so he said, unless, that tip jar is full, no cooperation from me. So, in order to get Buddy onto the cooperative path. Please, anything that you've got, whatever, big coins lying around, $100 bills, everything into that tip jar. We're very grateful for all of your help, friendship, and support. The more you're able to donate, the more of these videos we can make, the more we can improve the technology. And above all, we might get a cooperative buddy to work with sometime in the future. So remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye bye.